Hello, Nigerians. You recall I made a broadcast on 31st July where I warned protesters in the north to be wary of bad eggs such as suicide bombers who could dwell amongst them to fight the government, but they were not friends of the people either. In less than 24 hours after my statement, a bomb explosion in Borno State killed over 20 persons at different locations and injured some others at two other places. Though this bomb blast did not happen in protest locations, it prompted protesters to take caution while engaging in civil demonstration. But this time, my entreaty beckons the whole political class in Nigeria. The president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and other Nigerian politicians are behaving like Maria Antoinette. Now, who was Maria Antoinette? Maria Antoinette was the queen and wife of King Louis XVI of France, who lost her head in the French Revolution because of her insensitive remarks, licentiousness, and wastefulness. During this time, bread was a commonest and the cheapest food in the French society until its price began to rise astronomically. One day, a royal messenger brought words from the French masses to the queen that they had no bread. Bread was costly. The queen responded by asking the people to eat cake if the bread was scarce. That was humorous, right? But do you know what happened thereafter? When rumors of the queen's response spread across France, a huge crowd of French market women held a march to the royal palace and ejected the queen and her family out of the royal house. Then, in a matter of months, the king and the queen lost their heads. Now, it's quite scary, and we are not wishing that violence of this nature to engulf Nigeria. But the political class in Nigeria, by their actions, are wishing that this mass aggression be their portion. Yes, the ruling class has been asking poor citizens to make sacrifices for this nation. But members of this class have been leading a life of profligacy or basking in a lavish and ostentatious lifestyle. The people are yet to see significant sacrifices on the part of the government. None. The president made a similarly jovial speech on Sunday, where he enumerated the policies and actions he had taken. But this is not the first time the president has made a speech. Speeches are not communication. Information is not communication. The president speaking through his aides, such as Ajuri Ngelale, is not communication. Every form of communication has an essential element, which is a positive or a negative feedback. I'll give you an example. The president said he had disbursed additional 570 billion naira to all subnational units. Earlier, the federal government ordered the distribution of 20 trucks of rice containing 1,200 bags of rice to each state. Now, obviously, all these funds and edibles are barely enough to feed over 200 million Nigerians. In addition, the trucks of rice and funds, what have state governors done with them? How many people have genuinely come out to say that they have benefited from these resources? That's where the feedback comes in. The president is sending messages, but the people are giving negative feedbacks. That's why all his seemingly good efforts have not endeared him to the people.
My vision for our country is one of a just and prosperous nation where each person may enjoy the peace, freedom, and meaningful livelihood that only democratic good governance can provide. One that is open, transparent, and accountable to the Nigerian people. For decades, our economy has remained anemic and taken a dip because of many misalignments that have stunted our growth. Just over a year ago, our dear country, Nigeria, reached a point where we couldn't afford to continue the use of temporary solutions to solve long-term problems for the sake of now and our unborn generations. I therefore took the painful yet necessary decision to remove first subsidy and abolish multiple foreign exchange system, which had constituted a noose around the economic jugular of our nation and impede our economic development and progress. These actions block the greedy and the profit that smugglers and rent seekers make.
He needs to retreat and examine his policies and the medium by which he executes these policies. The posture of the president doesn't seem to show a figure who is afraid of protests. But the government must know that this is not the Analyses that agitated basically against the police brutality. This is End Bad Governance protest. It is Days of Rage protest. It has a much wider demands than what obtained during the Analyses. For example, unlike in the Analyses, the current civil action has the largest population, protesters, in the north. Now, let me share a video with you. Watch. What did you see in this video? Hundreds of children who should be in the classroom are flocking the streets, agitating against the current government. That's very bad. While most of our children in the South are receiving positive theoretical instructions in civic education from their teachers, most of our children in the North are displaying negative values abhorred by the principles of civic education, such as a child carrying arms against the state. It is very sad indeed that the government doesn't see scenes like this as looming catastrophe. Millions of Almajiris in the North have no education, they have no house, they have no food, they have no sound objective guidance. What do you expect of them then? They are most vulnerable to indoctrination. They have the strongest proclivity towards aggression. They have nothing to lose. That's why they do all they are doing now. Indeed, they are much prepared to die. So we are talking about the president's inability to solve insecurity. But be aware that we are staring at a potential insecurity in the face. Thousands of children in the North who have no sense of direction are the seeds of future insecurity. So we should be disturbed about this. Asarok must know that these kids are not bluffing. Attacking them with tear gas or any other weapon of mass dispersion will not ease the protest. And if you decide to impose a curfew, 24 hours, 48 hours, weeks, what you are doing is just postponing the evil day, which might be more spontaneous and aggressive. My president, Mr. President, I don't know if you are watching the ongoing events of mass power around the world. In Bangladesh, what started as just a student demonstration opposing a controversial quota system, in the course of time became a nationwide violent movement, clamoring for Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's resignation. Of course, we have seen what happened. The protest was beyond containment, which made the Prime Minister to flee the country. That happened because some of the protesters were murdered by government security agents. This killing made the protesters go more ballistic and bellicose, Mr. President, and indeed the whole political class. In order to avert this devastation, the time to communicate with the protesters is now.